Hey guys! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. I hope that you guys have been enjoying my content, that you guys are liking it, learning from it, growing from it. That's my ardent desire with these videos. In this video, I wanted to speak to you guys about something that I'm learning myself in this past year, in the past few months. And so I really wanted to share this learning or gain with you guys because I think it'd be useful. Perhaps you can learn from it as well. So throughout my life, because I have such high trust issues, such intense fear of strangers, fear of the people around me, fear of any person that I don't actually really know truly well, I have this tendency to mark everyone that I meet. I mean, no one, whoever it might be, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter how I met them. My instant reaction, my first reaction is to mark them as dangerous. I think to myself, I don't know if this person's actually the kind of person I want to hang out with. I don't know if they're the kind of person that is going to harm me or hurt me or reject me or abandon me or whatever, all of those things that we're afraid of. And so my first instinct with every person that I meet, I think maybe this is first instinct for most people. I actually don't think so. I think it's more so for us because we have such a high barrier to trust. And so I think what we do is, because we've had to deal with so many issues in our life, that we have this tendency to mark people as dangerous or as threats. And then little by little, we go into a mode where we perhaps see things that this person does and perhaps they're not as much of a threat, or they are, and then we mark them completely out and we door slam them or get rid of them. Or we realize they're safe. They're not the kind of people who are going to hurt us. They're actually really nice. And then we let them in slowly, little by little, into our friend circle or into our circle of trust, right? The only problem with this scenario, which I'm finding as I'm getting older, is that the process of marking someone as a threat and then marking them down to a safe zone, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of energy. But not only that, it kind of results in a situation where we mark way too many people as threats, almost everyone that we meet, and we don't have the energy to mark everyone else as safe, everyone that we meet as safe. You know, we just don't have the time or the energy for it. So a lot of people we just abandon. We think, okay, I don't really have time to deal with this person. I don't know if they're safe or not, so I'm just gonna let them go. And I think in that process of marking people as threats and not letting them into our circle right away, yes, we protect ourselves, obviously, but I also think that we miss out on a lot of friendships that we could potentially have because we're marking everyone as a threat. As soon as they come into our circle, we're like, no, I'm not gonna let you in. You have to be dangerous. You must be dangerous, right? A friend of mine recently was messaging me. We were messaging back and forth on Facebook, and we were talking about how we both have a tendency to do that, but she has dealt with a lot of trauma in her life, and so she has a tendency to overdo it. You know, she never trusts anyone. Everyone is a threat, and everyone is marked down as a threat. And she doesn't even try to bring them into the circle of trust because she has had so many traumatic issues happen and so many traumatic situations happen to her, that she doesn't feel comfortable even going through the process of marking someone as safe, which means that she's disappointed about it because she misses out on a lot of friendships. I think the same thing happened to me and her, or her and I. We became friends after 2 or 3 years actually knowing each other, because from the beginning I felt like there was this barrier in between the both of us. Now, not only was she putting up a really thick wall around her, which makes sense, but I was as well, which meant that two people, and now we're really good friends and I'm really grateful to have her in my life, but it meant that it took us through two and a half years to get to this point. And those were 2.5 years we could have been friends and we could have been in each other's circle. Perhaps we weren't ready for it. Perhaps, you know, the universe is working exactly the way it's supposed to. I understand the mystical side of it. But I really am trying to go into a mode of more trust. Now I trust my intuition, I trust myself. I'll give you a quick analogy. For example, when you're driving on the road, right? You don't necessarily trust all the drivers around you, but you go into it trusting the drivers on the street. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're like, oh, I'm just gonna drive however I want and everyone's gonna give me right away and I just can do whatever I want. No, You go onto the streets, you drive a motorbike or a scooter or a car, and you realize, yes, some people on the road are going to be untrustworthy, but you have to drive on the street with a sense of trust about you, because you have to trust that people around you are going to do the right thing. You have to trust that they're going to follow the rules. You have to trust that, otherwise you're going to be too paranoid and you're not going to drive on the streets, right? You're just going to be like, all right, I'm just going to walk everywhere, or I'm going to hide from the world in my room. The same kind of thing, I guess, when you go out in the world in general. Yes, there are a million different ways that you could be killed, murdered, maimed, different ways you could get hurt, you could die, but we trust. We trust that, yes, things could happen, but I trust that I go into the universe and the universe will kind of take care of me. And on the other hand, I trust myself as well, so I'm not gonna go walk into a street full of cars that are zooming towards me, or I'm gonna be careful when I'm walking on the pavement. If a motorbike comes at me suddenly, I'm gonna take care of myself. And so not only do we trust the outside world, but we trust ourselves in those situations, right? Otherwise we would never go out. Otherwise we would just hide in our room, and some of us do that. We have moments of that for sure, but in general we have this trust that we go into the world with. Unfortunately, we don't do that in relationships or with people. Yes, we've been hurt in the past. I absolutely agree. There have been millions of occasions. I'm sure you have a lot of trauma associated with it, a lot of situations where you trust the person and they betrayed your trust. I understand all of that, but I want you guys to start thinking about trust in a different way. It's that you have to put yourself a little bit out there before someone else can trust you as well, right? In that situation with my friend, she didn't trust me, I didn't trust her, and we ended up losing out on a great friendship. Now, little by little, I'm kind of going into this mode where I'm like, all right, I'm not just going to judge people as untrustworthy just because I met them, right? And that's how I would do it in the past. Just because they're a human being, especially men, I have a really hard time trusting. As soon as I see a man, I'm like, all right, he's untrustworthy. But I'm really trying now, I'm going from a mode of trust and saying, okay, just because he's a man doesn't mean he's not trustworthy. Just because they're a human being doesn't mean they're not trustworthy. I can go into this and say, all right, yes, I'm going to start off with trust. And if they do something wrong, then I'm going to say, okay, maybe they're not trustworthy. But I want to start off with trust. Whereas in the past, they were guilty until proven innocent. I want to start off with innocent until proven guilty. I really want to go with that mode, because that means that I'm not spending my time proving people's guilt. I'm not trying to prove them innocent. I'm just proving them guilty. So if they do something, they're the ones who do something, then I can be like, all right, they're guilty. But from this end, it takes less effort on my part, less energy, and less time, less thought process in general, because they're the ones who prove themselves untrustworthy. They're the ones who do something, and they're like, all right, cool. Then I can say, you're out of the game. But if I go into a situation with trust, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna trust this person. I've just met them. I don't know anything about them. They have a couple of friends that I trust. So that means that maybe they're trustworthy as well. So I'm gonna go into a situation with trust on my plate, right? Perhaps they have issues as well, but maybe they're coming in with trust as well. And then we can build a friendship on top of that, on the basis of that, on the basis of trust, going into it with trust. Rather than going into it thinking, oh, they must be a horrible person. They have to be a horrible person. They must be terrible. I'm not gonna trust them. They're dangerous. They're a threat. I need to protect myself from them. I need to protect my heart from it. Now, of course, as I said, I trust the world around me. I'm trying to trust the world around me, but I trust myself more. As time goes on, I'm trusting my instinct a lot more, my intuition a lot more, my judgment a lot more. So I can go into all of these situations with trust in the beginning, because if something happens that makes me feel a little bit icky, or makes me feel like maybe this person's giving me the heebie-jeebies, then I can say, all right, I trust my instinct, I trust my intuition, and I'm gonna go into this saying, all right, I tried with trust, but something is off about this person, and so I can't trust them anymore. The same thing goes for any kind of job situation or any kind of new situation you go into. You always go in with a little bit of trust, don't you? You go in and think, okay, I think this is gonna be fun, I think it's gonna be fine, I think it's gonna be great. If something happens that proves me wrong, then I will look into it further. But I'm gonna go into this situation thinking, yeah, awesome, this is gonna be great, I'm gonna have fun with this, right? And then something happens and you're like, oh, all right, cool. Then I need to be careful with the situation because it's a bit dangerous, or there's a little bit of a threat here, or there's an energy vampire there, or there is a situation here where there might be a possibility of harassment. And so then we pull back and we protect ourselves, right? We don't start off protecting ourselves. We don't start off creating all these barriers and shackles and walls around us. We start off with trust and then move towards whatever we need to move towards depending on what the situation warrants, right? And so that's what I'm really trying on my end. Now, I'm not saying I'm being successful every single time. I still have a really hard time trusting men. And so when I go into a situation, I really try very hard to say, okay, no, you're not gonna put any judgment on this person. You don't know what they're like. They might be a nice person. I'm really trying very hard. It's a work in progress for sure, but I still wanted to share it with you guys because I've been noticing that actually it's creating a safe world for me to live in. I don't think of everything as a threat. I'm not going into every situation with fear. I'm going into situations with trust, and it's just such a easier way to live. It's so hard to always think of everything and everyone as a threat because you're just in such a high alert mode all the time, right? You're always like but then you can just relax a little bit with this trust mode and say, okay, cool, no, everything's fine. I trust myself. I trust the people around me. If something happens, I know how to deal with it because I've been through this. I'm an adult. I can do this thing, right? All right, I hope this makes sense. If you guys have any questions at all about this or about any other video, you're more than welcome to message me anytime. And I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.